Hello?
Oh, are you my partner?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Um,
She said we need to make a group Google Doc.
yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I don't use Google Docs.
All right. What's your number? I'm gonna text you.
Um, all right, I'll type it in the chat right now. Oops.
I just texted you.
Sound on. Hello, everybody. Oh, no reaction. Oh, thank you, Julia. Otherwise, it's like no reaction. The black squares are not talking to me. Hi, Amanda. Thank you. All right. E3 and good. Good. All right. How's everybody doing? Let's turn that. Okay. Denise says good. Okay. Interesting. How are you? What about you? uh, not bad. Not bad. A lot of things that have to be done. And now, of course, we have a lot of grading coming my way. That's great. Okay, where are we? Good. So I have sent you a bunch of files. Let's open the agenda for today. Let's see, where are we? Let's see which window I need. This one, okay. Make it larger. Okay, so as we are going to start with logistics as always, please open your group Google Doc. Now, if you haven't created one with your partner, now is the time to do it quickly. Remember to invite your partner so she or he could work with you together, and invite me as well. I think the ones from last week should be still okay. So I'll check once we get to that, but I just want you to be prepared for working. So I sent you a bunch of files. If you did not get them, I can post them in the chat. You just have to tell me. Or you can download them from Blackboard. So let's look at those files. Stop this and then share. Hi, Leroy. Where are we?
Good morning.
Very good. I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Okay, good. So I am in Blackboard. I hope everybody can see that. If you go to number 3, finding 5 experiments, all right, what you will see is, no, going into finding 5 further on. So, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we don't want that. Where are we? Is it here? Stupefact. Where the hell are we? Ah, of course, this is an writing lab report. So finding 5 is really for data collection. Okay, so here you can see there are 4 files that I just posted, just within the last hour. The one that we will use the most is the first one, writing your lab report slides. So download that. We'll talk about the rubric, which I also posted. Per request of a couple of people, I have posted the short collection of slides from the potential statistical analysis that you will do for this lab report, and that's in Statistics JASP. That's the free software that I recommend for you to use because it's simple, effective, and like I said, it's free. And then we will also look at how to choose your statistical test flow chart, but mostly we will try to focus on doing some writing of your lab report one. If you have done that already, what you should do is copy it and paste it in your Google Doc so I can see it during the rest of the class today. All right, so you also have an announcement right here telling you about Lab 1 report. I'm asking you to write it in your in your Google group doc, because that keeps the history of your contribution. So if there is ever an issue between the two of you, obviously I have no idea what is going on in your group dynamics. We can check it in the Google Doc history. That will tell us how much time each of you contributed to the document and how many components were written by such and such person. Okay, so grade your text using the rubric. Of course, it's not in 3 finding 5, it's in writing your lab report. I'll change that. When you're ready to submit, you should, I know it's an extra step, but to be on the safe side, you should download it into Word and check all the APA requirements. And that's page 2 of the rubric. We'll talk about that soon. Note there will be no late submissions. The submission link will close exactly at 10 a.m. a week from today, October 1st. So if you have any issues that require my attention, that is, you have an emergency, your family is going through some medical issues, please let me know. We can figure out what you could do. But otherwise, if it's not on Blackboard a week from today, that's it. You're going to get a 0 for that assignment. And there's 3 of them, so that's a huge chunk of your grade, so you better do that. All right, good. Plagiarism, be careful, because automatically submissions to Blackboard in forms of assignments like this are checked through Turnitin or Safe something, Safe Assignment, I think it's called, which is the plagiarism, what needs to be on BB. The whole report needs to be submitted through BB, Isaac. Again, make sure that your final text is from both of you. Yes, Isaac, October 1st. I'm looking, Isaac, can you see my Blackboard screen? I know it's a little small, but can you see it? Okay, you see it, good. So go to the announcements on Blackboard and read everything carefully. The link is right here for you. When you click on it, you're going to be taken to the link where you submitted. Remember, there's only one submission for the 2 of you. It could be either Word for Windows doc or docs format, or it could be PDF. Do not send me, well, you won't be able to do that anyway, links to Google Drive. That's not going to work. It has to be an actual report submitted in the form of the text. All right, let's stop with that. And our first order of the day is, like I promised, I need to talk to you a little bit, not too much, about variables, because that's what you need to know when you are doing your data analysis, which you should for this lab report. Let me see. Okay, open it up. All right, so scales of measurements, get your Google Doc ready. You can do it together, individually, but in your Google Doc. So let's talk about quickly the types of variables and how they're measured, because that's what's critical for statistics. So those of you who haven't taken 266, and I think it's most of you, maybe just a few did, this is the most important thing to understand. Statistics is not difficult. I mean, nobody cares about formulas anymore. You have plenty of software like JASP that I mentioned where you can do statistics, but you have to know which statistical test to do. And that's what statistics should be about, just figuring out what to tell your software to do. Okay, so we have two major types. We have categorical or qualitative variables, and we have continuous or quantitative variables. So let's start with categorical ones. These are names. So each of you, we have 23 people in the class. Each of you is a name. So the categorical variable name in our class is all of you guys. So if you have, you know, Justin, Brandon, Leroy, Becca, and so on and so forth, when you have names, they are categories. You cannot do what we call central tendency analysis with them. That is, we cannot have a mean of your names. That means nothing. We cannot have standard deviation of your names. It means nothing. Okay? So we measure these variables, names, on one of the two scales, either nominal scale or ordinal scale. The only difference between the two is with the nominal scales, you cannot order the values. I mean, if you take eye color and you have black and brown and blue and hazel and gray, whatever, you can't really put them first one, second one, third one, fourth one. Well, I mean, if you are a physicist or optometrist, if you're measuring light waves length in nanometers, maybe you could, but technically there is no natural order for these names. But there are names that can be ordered, right? So you could say the teams that are playing in National Football League season, you know, Chiefs is number 1 and Steelers is number 2 and so on. These can be ordered, let's say, in increased order or decreased order. If we have that, then this is an ordinal scale. But otherwise, nominal and ordinal scales are exactly the same. They are about names. They're not about numbers. Be careful, because sometimes numbers can actually be names. So if you are looking at some scale where you measure your self-esteem, you can have numbers. Strongly agree is 1, to strongly disagree is 4. So these are still names, although they can be represented as numbers. Let's go next. The continuous variables are numbers. These are the ones that we can do standard central tendency measures with. That means that levels are continuous. If you take accuracy, for example, well, you can be 0 accurate in your experiment. That is, all the items that you did incorrectly. So your accuracy is 0. Or you can be totally correct, and that's 100%. But most people will be somewhere in between. And that's on a number line from 0 to 100. And you can have numbers, God knows, everywhere. That's why they're continuous. There is never a number that is, you can exhaust. That is, with names, 23 people in the class, 23 names, you're done. With numbers, you can always get a smaller one, a smaller one, a smaller one, until you get to milliseconds. And the milliseconds can also be technically divided. That's why they're continuous. There is never a category. It's always. Okay, Rebecca, good. Do what you need to do. So the two scales that we use to measure continuous variables are interval and ratio. The difference between the two of them is what we know as true or absolute 0. So here's an example. If we take a thermometer, we measure degrees either in Fahrenheit or centigrade. When we have 0 Fahrenheit, it does not mean there is no temperature. It's some temperature, we just assign 0 to it. Obviously, that 0 is kind of different from centigrade 0, but still the same idea. The variable of temperature is still there, but there is no temperature. So that's the interval scale. Usually we get interval scales for instruments that we psychologists invent. Okay, so if you have a depression scale, you may have a 0. So that technically means that you're not depressed, but it's an arbitrary 0 because we created a scale. When we talk about ratio scales, still numbers, still continuous, there you actually have a 0, true 0, absolute 0, when something does not exist. You went to a restaurant, you hated the service, you left them, no tip. That's an absolute 0. It's not our some kind of a agreement to say, well, that's a 0. It's an actual absence of tip. All right. So most of the physical events that let's say number of hours you studied per week in week 3. Well, if you were too busy and you studied 0 hours, you studied 0 hours. There is no any kind of agreement of calling that a non-absolute 0. You did not put in any time. So in terms of statistics, these two are analyzed differently from categorical variable, but between the two of them, there is not really any difference. So the most important step is to categorize the variable as either categorical or continuous. And we do that for all the variables in our study or in our studies. So in this case, we are looking at our lab report 1. We have 2 variables. One is the independent variable, the one that was manipulated by us. Well, I created the experiment, but by the experimenter. And the other one that we measured, which we call the dependent variable. So for each of these variables, you have to first answer a question. Is it a categorical or is it a continuous? Okay? If it's categorical and the values cannot be ordered, if it's only 2 variables, by definition, it's going to be nominal scale because you can't really order 2. Well, first and second, maybe, but rarely. Usually for ordinal scales, you have to have at least 3 levels, 3 values. And if it's continuous, we have to decide whether this is something that has an absolute or true 0 or not. So let's do a quick exercise because we don't really have much time. So in your Google Docs, answer the questions for each of the 2 variables. And in fact, let's not even do 2. Let's just do 1. The dependent one, the one that we measure. So A, B, C, D, E, F, you should type in your Google Doc, A, B, C, D, E, F. Say the name of the variable. In this case, degree of pupil dilation. And then say whether this is continuous or categorical.
Professor,
Yes.
so we do this as groups or individually?
Yes, you do it with your partner.
My partner, okay. And you said we get the dependent variable of each one?
So we will have 6 statements. We'll have 6 dependent variables, 1 in each of the 6 statements.
And that's all we have to do, right?
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
All right.
If you are ambitious enough, you could also try to figure out the scale.
Okay.
So in this case, let's just finish 1, degree of pupil dilation. It's not just a question to be sure, it's a question to anybody. Is it a categorical or continuous variable? Is it a name or is it a number? Who can answer that question?
It's a number?
Yes, beautiful,
Yeah.
Brandon. So what kind of variable is it? I'm sorry, Bishoy. I'm looking at Brandon's. So either of you, is it a categorical or continuous variable?
Wait, which one are you talking about?
Degree of pupil dilation in A.
That would be a number.
Okay, is it categorical or is it continuous?
Continuous?
Continuous, good. Now we have to choose either an interval scale or a ratio scale. Does degree of pupil dilation have a natural zero? That this pupil doesn't dilate.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, good. Yes. So we can have a situation where your normal default baseline size in degrees is what it is. So it has to be a ratio scale. All right. So quickly, guys, do B, C, D, E, F.
Professor, you said that A is continuous. Can you explain that again?
Well, it's a degree. Noor, what's a degree? How do we measure degrees?
A number?
Yeah, number from 0 to,
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever, like number.
well,
we
so
want.
what's the degree of a circle?
Oh, 360.
The angle. 360, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous scale from 0 to 360. And if it's a continuous scale, because these are numbers, it has to be a continuous variable. And we identified that there is such a thing as an absolute zero when the pupil does not dilate. It has to be ratio. Does it make sense? No?
Oh, so okay, because there's a range. We say that it is well, a continuous because we can have any number.
That's right. Between the two bounded values of 0 to 360. Well, that's for this particular case. But if it's something else, it could be 0 to, I don't know, 24, if it's hours of the day, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
There's
good.
continuous, and what else? What's the other one?
Categorical.
Categorical.
And
Thank you,
that's what we're
Brandon.
doing for B through F?
Yes, we're doing this for B, C, D, E, F. If you have
So-
an answer to B already, because I don't want to go into Google Documents right now, it will take me too much time. Type in your answer.
Oh,
So
that's how
what?
we're doing it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I want you to do it in Google Docs so that then I can look at it a little later. But for now, if somebody already has an answer for B or C or D or E or F, type it in the chat. So B is number of books a person owns, that is in your house. Is it categorical or is it continuous? Excellent, because it is a number. So what would be the lowest number of books one can have
0.
in the house? 0. And what's the upper limit?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Exactly. It could be God knows how many. Doesn't matter. It's still a number, right? I mean, you can't really have a decimal. You can't say 1.5 books. But good, infinite. So what's the potential scale that we could use to measure, to measure this variable if it's continuous? Think about the absolute zero. Is it possible to have no books in the house at all? None, not a single one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Means this is interval or ratio? Ratio, good, Irene, yes. It means there's an absolute zero. Okay, who can do C?
So we're also putting this on the Google Doc.
Yes, yes.
So we'll just put classify each variable and then A through F.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who can answer C? Books sales rank on Amazon.
Continuous?
Nusrian, think about it. What does it mean, a book's sales rank? What's rank? Of course it is categorical. It's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 220th. Yes, Irene, you're right. It's categorical. And which scale is that? Is it nominal or is it ordinal?
Nominal?
Well, can you order them? Is there the book that's number 1 this week? Is there a book that's number 2 this week? Do you guys find this a difficult question? First, second, third, fourth, fifth? Ordinal, of course.
Professor, I kind of find it difficult. It's like I've never like.
Hey, so what I can say, I see Nisrin says it confuses me. You need to do a bunch of exercises. I mean, we don't really have time for that. Hopefully when you get to 266, you'll do a lot of those. As long as we can figure out the design of your experiment, that's all we need for now. But I can't really just push you and say, now tell me what the variables were, because I want you to do just a little bit. So if you find this difficult, just type in scales of measurement on our friend internet and do a bunch of exercises. All right, who can do D? Location of person's hometown. Urban, rural, or suburban?
Categorical.
Good. And is it nominal or ordinal?
Ordinal.
Because
Nominal.
That's
urban,
ordinal.
Because it's place's name.
yeah, the places are not ordered in any meaningful way. So it has to be nominal. It's just names, nothing else. All right, who can do E? Nationality of the participants in cross-cultural study of Canadian, Ghanaian, and French students.
Categorical.
Categorical?
Excellent. And what would be the scale?
Nominal.
Nominal. Again, we don't order Canadian, Ghanaians, and French in any, we can't. Finally, let's do F. That should be the easy one. So when we say grade, we talk about A, B, C, D, F, right? Is it categorical or is it continuous?
Continuous.
Leroy, think about it. What's so continuous about F or B or C or D? These are not numbers, right, Leroy? These are?
Well, a grade, I was thinking like 80,
Number.
90, 100.
No, that's
Me too.
different.
Yeah.
That's different. Think about the actual names. You got a B in class, okay? Somebody got a C in class. A third person got an A in class. You can't, unless you unless you recode A, B, C, D into GPA,
Yeah.
let's put it this way, right?
That's probably how we're thinking it.
Yes. Don't think of that as GPA. Think of
Just
them
think of
as
the letter
names. So it is, Jeffrey, you're correct. It's categorical. Now, is it nominal or ordinal?
Ordinal.
Yes, because A is higher than B, and B is higher than C, and C is higher than D, and so on. Okay, great. So this is what you need to do. This is not just for this class. I mean, we have 2 more lab reports for you guys to write. But when you are doing any kind of statistics, that's the first step. The next step is, once you have done that, now you actually know what statistics you'll be able to do. Now, if your dependent variable, the measure that you collect in your experiment is categorical, this is a simplification, but it's enough for our purposes. The only test you can do is chi-square. So if we say we have students who got A, B, C, D in the class, we only can do chi-square and say the percentage of people who received A and the percentage of people who received D is smaller than the percentage of people who received B and C in class. That's all you can do. So you are doing frequency analysis. You're saying so many people in A, so many people in B, so many people in C, blah. And that's called chi-square. Chi-square is not particularly difficult, but we don't need to talk about it because our dependent variable for the Stroop effect is what?
You said dependent or independent?
Dependent. The one that we measure, Nick.
That's the like the accuracy and the reaction times?
Fantastic, Nick. Perfect. So we have 2 dependent variables. So now, if we have 2 let's do accuracy for a second. So why is it a continuous variable? Well, because it's between 0 and 100, right? You can have, you guys had a very high accuracy, but it's still a number, right? So if your dependent variable, in this case accuracy, is continuous, your choice, again, I'm simplifying, but just for our purposes, is either t-test or analysis of variance. And in fact, don't get too upset if people didn't tell you before that t-test is actually a version of analysis of variance, but it's kind of easy to talk about it as separate. And the most important hallmark of a t-test is that you only compare two values. Value, that is, your independent variable has only two levels, level 1 and level 2. And you compare accuracy at level 1 with accuracy at level 2. Okay, and that's not just a question to Nick, but to somebody else. What was the independent variable in our Stroop effect experiment?
It was the like the words that are in the specific color.
Right. It's a little cumbersome to formulate it fully correctly.
Right.
Let's talk about the two levels. Again, Nick, not just to you, but to anybody else who would be willing to say, Karen, yes, two levels. What were these two levels, Karen?
Congruent and incongruent.
Good. So now we have your accuracy in the congruent condition, which is 100%. There is no variability. You all did fantastically well, which is what expected. Then we take you incongruent condition where the accuracy was, I forgot, 93 or something like that. So now we have these two numbers, 193. Because we only have two levels, we're going to be doing a t-test. But there are different t-tests. And that's the question that I will postpone for now on. Okay, so let's stop doing that and quickly look at how to choose statistical test flowchart. Okay, share. All right, there it is.
Professor?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. I was on JASP. So is there a way to, like, for when we're doing the lab report, that we have to like take like the graph from JASP and we have to put it in the lab report, right?
Technically, no. I would like you to create your graph or your figure, that's the correct word, in Excel. Because JASP doesn't really give you full APA formatting for a figure.
Okay.
So let's quickly look at this flow chart. Okay. So we know for our experiment that we are not doing a correlation. Ours is an experiment, and correlation, as we know, the two variables co-vary, but one doesn't cause the other. So this side of the flow chart does not apply to us. If you're doing something else, maybe you want to see if there is a correlation between a person's height and weight, or a person's height and shoe size. That's going to be an association, and you're going to go this way. But whatever we will be doing in this class is all about experiments. So we're going to go this way. Okay, so we are comparing two groups. In your case, two conditions, two levels. The congruent condition and incongruent condition. Now we're going to down and we say, is our dependent variable continuous or categorical? How did we answer that question already? So we're talking about accuracy. Is accuracy categorical or is accuracy continuous?
Continuous.
Thank you, Leroy. If it's continuous, we're going to go this way, right? Next one says, is your distribution normal? We will assume, regardless, that our distribution is normal. So we will skip this step It's an important step if you're doing real statistics, but we are okay. So we say yes. It's normally distributed. That's accuracy and reaction time. Now it says calculate the means, which I already did in my talking to you about accuracy. So one mean is 100%. The other mean is 93 or something like that. Oops. Now the next question is, are there more than two means? How do we answer that question? Yes or no?
Yes. Wait, no, more than two? No.
Brandon,
Just
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, are there more? That right? So that's, and if it's more, you're gonna go left. But in our case, no, right?
No.
We only have two means. So we're gonna go right. We're gonna go here. Okay?
The two means.
Yeah, we have only two means.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? That in the congruent condition, your mean is 100%. In an incongruent condition, your mean is 93%.
All right, thanks.
We took the means of all accuracies of all of you. There's 20 people who participated.
Professor,
Now,
but didn't people like get 96? So wouldn't
yes,
that also be?
that's going to be in this condition, in the incongruent condition. All right. In the congruent condition, nobody made any mistakes. None. So now we say we have two means. Now we have to answer the last question is, these two means, do they come from different people? Or do they come from the same people? Who can answer this question? It's not particularly difficult, but we didn't discuss it.
Same people.
Say it again, Leroy. I'm sorry, I missed your answer.
Same group of people.
That's right. So each of you contributed two means. One mean for a congruent condition, one mean for incongruent condition. So do we have, and they are matched, right? They're paired. You gave us these two values, which means that we're going to go this way. And here is our answer. Which statistical analysis do we need to do? Which is very, very simple. You can even do it on paper. Which statistical analysis do you have to do? What does the t-test for matched groups or sampled pairs t-test? There are many, many names for this. As long as you understand that this is not this, because this means that I take your accuracy in, let's say, congruent condition, and then I administer the same test to another class, and they will give me the incongruent condition accuracy. Now I'll be matching two separate groups of people. Their statistics with t-test is a little different because it is a different people. Okay, any other questions? So this is what you should quickly write in your Google Doc, is the two variables, the independent one and dependent one, what the levels are for the independent variable, what the units are for dependent variables. Remember, there are two dependent variables in your data. And which test are you going to do? Now, of course, you have to do it twice because you're using it for two different dependent variables. So these answers should be in your Google Doc by one of you or both of you, whatever. Any other questions before we move on to actual writing? Okay, good. I know it's a lot, but if you follow the steps, you should be fine.
Professor, you said it was two variables and
Yes.
what else?
Well, there is one independent variable and two dependent variables in our data, and you should identify them. All right. Now we are ready to, let me just make sure that I have the right stuff. So I'm going to close and open a new file. close this and open writing a lab report. Okay, good. So now you should be in your Google Docs and sort of follow me with your Google Doc, and then we will, once we are done with this little discussion, that's not so little, but let's say if we can do it quickly, then I will cut you loose and you're gonna go into your Google Docs and you will start working on them based on this PowerPoint presentation. I sent it to you, so you must have it. You can open it so you can follow it and make notes. Okay, so writing, we already started doing some of that, so it's not quite news to you. Okay. First, I'm asking you to, well, you're doing it in Google Docs, which is a word processing part, and you have to look. I never remember whether Google Docs allow you to do that. You need to set your general preferences. So hopefully you are doing it together with me in your Google Docs. So you have to set your margins at 1 inch all around, top, bottom, left, right. Current APA 7, that's the one that we are using. Where is the beginning of that book? Yeah, there it is. Okay. APA 7 that we are using actually allows several types of fonts. I don't want you to think about it because any choice is always cognitively difficult. Always use Times Roman 12 points. So as I talk, do it in your Google Docs. Set your font at Times Roman 12. Oops, is everybody okay?
Hi, Professor. Yeah, that's my niece. I'm sorry.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, I just want to ask if what exactly are we doing though?
We haven't gotten to that point yet, what we
Oh, okay.
exactly are doing. At this point,
Oh, I thought I missed it. That's why I asked.
right,
Yeah.
you go into your Google Docs and you try to follow these steps. For now, I would like you to set up some general preferences in your Google Doc.
Okay.
But if you are taking care of your niece, your partner, who's your partner, Bishoy?
Brendan.
Me.
Brendan.
Yep.
Then Brendan, you can start doing that while Bishoy is soothing his niece.
The APA format, yeah.
Yes.
Have margins.
Good. And you set your line spacing at double. This is throughout the entire lab report, including figure, titles, references, everything. It's double. And if you can, again, Google Docs may be a little bit different from Word, but I want you to work in Google Docs because then we can see how you guys do it together. If there is a possibility to make all of these settings as default, do that. And if not, wait until you get your stuff into the regular Word. Okay. Next thing, which doesn't require a lot of thinking, but it's important. These are the required components. So in your Google Doc, start typing in these are called headings. Okay. Well, title page is not really a heading, but it's a title page. So you'll need to have a title page. Next one is abstract. And note that abstract starts on the new page. So you should, in regular Word, you can hold Control and click Enter simultaneously, and it will give you a new page. In Google Docs, and just use Enter for now. So on the second page, which is a new page, type the word abstract. It should be centered and it should be in boldface. All right. Introduction that starts on the new page. So again, either do Control Enter simultaneously or use Enter until you get to the next page. Type in, yep.
Is this the same docs that we use for the group one?
Yes, I don't mind if it's the same doc. That's not a problem for me. You know, that's easier than to have two. We could have two, but I don't think we need to.
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So title page, that's the first page, and then abstract would be the second.
That's correct. It
And then
starts on the
introduction,
new page.
new page, method,
Also.
new page.
Yeah. So these are abstract, introduction, and references. These are the three components that start on a new page. Everything else is continuous. We'll get to that in a second. I just want you to create the structure in your Google Docs. So
the method doesn't start on a new page. It's just right after the introduction?
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct, Nick. All right, so introduction is also heading level 1, which means it's centered, bold-faced. And you will see when we get to introduction that the very first thing in introduction is the repetition of the title from the title page. So you can type it in for now. Repeat the title, because you don't have a title yet, I assume. So you can say, you know, lab report 1 title. And that's the requirement of the APA. Let me, of course, you guys have the sample student paper posted on the Blackboard, which you should look at. So I'm just going to show you again. We'll get to that closer in the slides. Okay, this is the title page. Now this is the introduction, and as you can see, I'm bringing it as close as I can, that the title itself is repeated and it's in bold-face. Note that they don't have the word introduction because it's actually optional, but let's keep it so that we are on the same page.
Wait, so we have to put the title on the top left on every page?
No, only in the beginning of introduction, and it's not left, it's centered.
Center, okay, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Next, introduction and method, like Nick said, are continuous. So don't make any control enter, any blank spaces. Start method as again, right after introduction, again, centered, bold-face. All right. We'll come back to the method because it has subsections and they are formatted as heading level 2. That is going to be our next step, but let's finish the skeleton. Continuously after method, we will start results. Again, centered, bold-face. Next, again, this continuous text. We're going to have discussion, which will be centered, bold-face. All right. And references.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was going back and forth.
Right after results, you're going to click, go to the new line and do discussion, which is going to be centered, bold-face. All right. And the last one is references that starts on a new page. So control enter the new page or do just enters and do heading level 1 references centered, bold-face on a new page. Okay, so these are called heading level 1. And let me show you this and then I'll come back to the slide, so don't panic. Okay, so that is the 5 levels of heading or headings in APA style. Out of these 5, we will only use 2. So we're not going to use 3, 4, and 5. Just ignore them. Okay, so this is our level 1, centered, bold, title case. Well, we have one word. So it's introduction, method, results, discussion, references. 5 headings of level 1, centered, bold. Now, I'm going to go back to close this. There. Get rid of, undo. Okay, goody. Stop. Go back. So now let's go up to method, because method is heading level 1. Now we need to add 3 subheadings that are going to be level 2. Let's look at level 2. We have flush left, that is, it's not centered, it's flushed left, and it's still bold. So go back to your method, hit enter, and add participants, design and materials and procedure, one after another, all 3 flushed left, all 3 in boldface. That's heading level 2. All right. So like I said, 3, 4, and 5 are not going to be applicable to us. But if you are in a much more complex design, you may have to use all. Excuse me. Good. Any questions about headings so far? Good. Now, this is the repetition of what we did last week. It's the title page. Now remember that the title page is posted for you. That's what it looks like. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's professional paper. Yeah. Where is our student paper? There we go. Better. Okay, that's the student paper. This is what will have to be on your title page. Don't do it now. Let's go through the rest and then you will start working. So title page has all these components. It has a page number right here in the header. It has the actual title, bold, title uppercase. It has your names. In this case, that's only one person. You will have 2. It has your affiliation, which is Department of Psychology, the College of Staten Island of the City University of New York. And then it has my information, that is the course number, the course title, my name, and the date is going to be October 1st, 2020. That's all you have on title page. It used to be much more complex. They simplify it. Perfect. So here is a few things that you need to know. Your title cannot be longer than 12 words. So it cannot be 3 lines or anything like that. But remember, I told you to create your title when you finished with your whole text, because your title has to be a claim. It has to be something that connects the 2 variables together.
Where can we find that title page?
It's posted on the Blackboard.
Okay.
Under writing the lab report, go to the title page. It has both the title page itself and the title page with explanations, but explanations are here for you.
Okay.
Good.
So this would be on the first page, right?
Yes, that's the title page. Title page is page number 1, and it has to have a number. It has to be numbered 1. We're not going to talk about this for now. Most of that is actually going to be on you guys. So what's the easiest way? But remember, it's going to be page 2. What's the easiest way to learn how to write an abstract? Read one. Yes, Nick, more than one, preferably. So you have at least 5 articles posted on reading articles in cognitive psychology on the Blackboard. We started looking at the article by Ols and colleagues. You obviously have the Stroop effect article. All of them have abstracts. So read them and then use this as your guidelines to write your abstract. Again, just like the title, this should be the last thing you'll do. Well, the one before last, the title will be last. So I'm not talking about, because we don't really have time for this. That, remember, maybe the most sort of noticeable thing is that the abstract cannot be longer than 120 words. If it's longer, then it's not ABA. Yes, abstract is on its own page, page number 2. Continue. Now, that's the most important thing, is to talk to you about writing. And we don't have too much time, so I will be quick. we write at 3 levels, and I'm sure you have heard that before, probably in English 111 and English 151 or whatever college composition courses you might have taken. The macro level, of course, is the most important one. That gives us the purpose of the whole paper. But APA style is very helpful because APA style or format gives us these components. So if we write the components right, we will get the macro level for free. The one that I want to focus on is the mid-level, paragraphs. And that's what we'll talk about for the next couple of minutes, is what is a paragraph? How do we deal with that? There's also a sentence level, but the sentence level, it's about the way they are worded and whether they're grammatically correct is the least important one. Now, if I see, a few poorly written sentences, it's not going to do much in terms of lowering your grade. But if your report is consistently poorly written, then it might be something that I will be noticing. So one of the things you could do if you know that you're having issues with language mechanics, for example, style or whatever, is to go to the go virtually, of course, to our tutoring center, writing center, that has plenty of appointments. So what you could do is, if you have your draft, you make an appointment, the tutor will go over the text with you and will help you correct problems that have to do with language. These tutors know nothing about psychology. They're not going to be helpful to you in terms of whether you're doing psychological content right, but they will help you with the sentence level. Sometimes I see it regularly. Students get too hung up on sentences and they miss the other two. We will focus on the mid-level on paragraphs, which is our next. Let's do paragraphs, and then we probably will take a break. So here is the most important thing to remember about paragraphs. And paragraph, right, is something that is a continuous text until we hit enter and get another paragraph. And the reason why we do that, because the way our attention, those who were here on Tuesday know our attention span is extremely short, especially nowadays. Our attention is short, so we can't, if somebody writes like Leo Tolstoy, who is famous for writing 3-page paragraphs, you're going to be crying because it's impossible to follow. We need to be able to break our text in paragraphs so that we can stay focused on one at a time. That's why we have the square paragraph rule. It means that each paragraph should be about half a page, not length, of course, but long, on a double-spaced page. So its width is approximately the same as its length. And to accommodate our problem with attention span, we cannot have more than one point or one idea per paragraph. If you start talking about, I don't know, different classifications of pets, and you'll say, well, there are dogs and cats and rodents and fish and birds, then you would need a separate paragraph for each of these 5. So you'll talk about dogs separately, about cats separately. You can't lump it all together into one paragraph that has no end, because then you're going to lose your reader. Your reader will say, oh my God, I can't read that. That's so bad. So let's talk about the square paragraph rule and then take a break. It has, any paragraph has 3 components, and these are the required ones, and these are what make a good paragraph good. So when you read somebody else's paper, especially another student, pay attention to this. Why, if you find that this particular paper that you're reading is not good, is it because it misses these 3 things? So the first one is a transition. A transition glues the current paragraph to the previous one. So the only place where it's kind of hard is the very first paragraph of the paper. And that's because there's no transition. You just have to start talking about whatever you're talking about. But if you are in the second paragraph, then you have to connect the second paragraph to the first one. Okay, and that connection could be as simple as one word. So you can say things like, however, or you can say things in addition, or you can use the term from the first paragraph. If you were talking about, divided attention, you'll say divided attention. So you repeat the term in the first sentence of the second paragraph from the first paragraph. Okay. And sometimes it could be a whole sentence. You'll say there are 2 types of attention or something like that. So that's sentence number 1. Sentence number 2 is something that we call the key sentence. That's the most important one. This is where you have to put all your efforts to kind of succinctly tell us what the paragraph is all about. In fact, a good way to check whether you are writing correctly is to delete everything but only leave the key sentences. So if you have 20 paragraphs in your paper, you'll have 20 sentences, and then you will read them and you'll see if there is a logic. It may not be that necessary for your lab report because it's going to be short, but if you're writing something that's 15 pages long, you may want to do this exercise. So that's the second paragraph, second sentence in a paragraph. And the rest is what we call evidence. And this evidence could be something that supports the key sentence. And it could be up to 4 sentences, 2 to 4. So the minimum is 4 sentences. A good solid paragraph 6 could be as long as 8. But it needs to be preferably within half to 2/3 of a page. All right. And now this is our introduction. So it's 11:09. Let's break until 11:15. And then at this point, we'll finish a little bit of that. And then you're going to go to the Google Docs and you'll start jotting some components of your lab report. I'm here if anybody wants to talk to me. So 11:15.
Professor?
Yes.
So I'm not gonna lie, I opened the data on Excel and I have no idea how to make like a graph out of it.
Okay. Do you want me to show it to you, Nick, how to do it?
Yeah, or just like lead me in the right direction.
All right. Let me just give me one
Thank you.
second. 11:15. All right. I'm gonna stop this, and then I'll share an Excel. Okay. Let me just give me 1 second, Nick. I need to open a new Excel.
It's fine.
All right. Close this. Cancel. Okay. Another Excel. Here we go. No. Great. Let's make it larger. Okay, so let's do it, Nick. Watch me. And obviously ask me questions if you... Oops. Share. Excel. Good. All right, can you see my Excel screen? No, stop sharing. No, not yet. Yeah, it says it stopped.
Right.
Let me do it again. I have no idea why it's doing this. Okay, let me close. Another attempt. Oh, share. Book. I don't know why it tells me the screen sharing is paused. Resume sharing. Okay, let's see. Stop share. Resume share. Why don't you want to do that? Oh. are killing me. Share. Just doesn't want to do it. Oh, what do I do? Keeps telling me that the sharing is stopped and doesn't want to renew it. So I don't know. Let me close Excel completely. And now open it again. Yeah. Ah, can you see it now, Nick?
Yeah, I see it.
Fantastic. All right. So this is how we do it. We don't use the raw data, we use the means. You understand what I mean by the means, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna say congruent. That's the name of one of the conditions. Incongruent. That's the name of the other one, right?
Okay.
And my dependent variable is accuracy. Okay, let me make it a bit bigger if it allows me to. Maybe not. That's the problem. It doesn't allow me to make it bigger. Okay, so in congruent condition, it's 100%, and in congruent, whatever it is, 93. I don't remember. I also need standard deviations. In congruent condition, there is no standard deviation because there is no variability. But there will be, and I'm just gonna, hypothesize. Let's say 2.3. Are you watching me, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm gonna select just 3 by 2 because that's what I want to graph. We'll go into insert, into column, 2D. Okay.
Okay.
The problem here is that that's not APA formatted. It has a bunch of issues that need to be addressed. I'm just doing it to minimum is 100, maximum is 100, and major unit is 10. And we don't want it to be colored, so design black and white. And so so this is the figure that you need, but it will also, if you can do it, but doesn't mean that you should. I mean, I don't have time to teach you how to do it. You could also post error bars for the standard deviations. But even if you have this, right, it looks different from what JASP gives you, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Because it's almost APA format that you need to change the labels to Times Roman, and it should be 12, and Times Roman, and 12. Now it's a little crowded, so I would have to change that format and maybe make it 20. Okay, so then you would take this figure, Nick, copy it, right, and post it in the text.
Okay.
In the results section. It's not terribly difficult. There's, all you need is a 5-minute tutorial on creating figures from the means using YouTube.
Okay, but my one question is, you put the standard deviation, but you didn't include it in the graph?
Right. The problem is it's a bunch of steps for which I don't have time. So just mention standard deviations in the text and don't put them in the figure. That's okay.
Okay. So for this graph, what you have now, obviously those are not the right numbers, but it's just those three.
Why 3?
Like see the
Wow,
congruent,
there's,
incongruent, standard
yeah,
deviation.
there should be standard deviation, but there is none because there is no variability. So it
Okay.
should be 4 numbers.
Okay.
So that's, remember, this is just the accuracy, right? But you also have another dependent variable. That's the one that we really care about.
Right.
And you already named it. That
The reaction time.
reaction time. Yes.
Right.
And over there will be 4 numbers. There will be 2 means and 2 standard deviations. And the standard
Right.
deviation is calculated in Excel. Again, takes 10 seconds.
Right. And it's still the congruent, incongruent, and the means
Yeah.
of each.
It's exactly
Okay.
the same independent variable. It's just different dependent variable. So this Y axis is going to be different because it's going to be from whatever the minimum of your reaction time is to whatever the maximum of your reaction time is. So these are accuracy right here.
Okay.
But you will have reaction time data. All right, let's stop that and go back to writing. Where are we? Okay. Writing lab report here. Share. Okay, and go. Oh, now it stopped. It's doing it again. All right, let me close all PowerPoints and then start another one. Where were we? We were at introduction, right? Okay, let me see if it's gonna allow me to share. Okay, good. You guys can see it, right? Yes, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now you're in the introduction. Just keep thinking about it. Don't start typing in anything yet because you will do it next. So your introduction has to have 3 paragraphs. Each of them should follow the square paragraph rule. Okay? Each paragraph should consist of 3 components: a transition sentence, a key sentence, and several evidence sentences. And like I said, minimum 4 sentences per paragraph, maximum 6 to 8. So this is just a repetition of the square paragraph rule. Now, this is important. That's what you need to now go to your introduction, click enter, and start on the new line. Just type in first paragraph. Don't do anything else because you will be doing it with your partner in a few minutes. So your first paragraph should be about the general topic. So what are we doing in the Stroop effect? Are we in sensation, in perception, in language and memory? And then within that topic, and this is what we started talking about on Tuesday, but we didn't get to the Stroop effect. So it's your thinking, which is nicely described in the textbook. See if I can get the textbook. That's page 84. Page 84. That's the Stroop effect. So it's all written here. All you have to do is read. But remember, no plagiarism. And there you have to define what are these variables that we're interested in. Well, we are interested in our independent variable, really. What is it that we are manipulating? What will give us the Stroop effect? Your second, so that's 4 to 6 sentences. Your second paragraph is the summary of the Stroop article, where you have to include his claim or his hypothesis, only experiment 2, that's all we care about, and provide means for the dependent variables. Now, this is the Stroop data. It's in the article. It's not yours. Your stuff comes in method and results. Stroop stuff comes in introduction and discussion. And then you marry the two in the discussion as well. Finally, your third paragraph, you say, what is it that you're doing differently from your primary source article? That's the Stroop effect. So again, I'm not putting the words in your mouth, but think about how Stroop did it and what he did and how you did it and what you found. So the purpose is the purpose, hypotheses, a hypothesis, one, maybe it's enough, and predictions. So who can tell me how long this introduction section could be? A page and a half, yes. Jeffrey, yes. Nisrin, yes, perfect. A page and a half, exactly. Could be a little shorter, a little longer. But approximately, because we are using the square paragraph rule. Now remember, your whole report is 5 or so, or 6 pages or something like that. 24 sentences. Yes, but Isaac, it's not the actual number of sentences in the introduction, it's the number of paragraphs. That's what matters. Your paragraphs could be shorter, they could be a little longer. Good. Next comes method. We already did the headings level 2, participants, design and materials, procedures. So what do we have in participants? How many? Who can answer this question quickly in the chat? How many participants did you have? Not Stroop. Not 19, Karen. 2. 2 participants. No, how many participants? Not how many groups or stuff like that. How many actual people were there? Well, maybe 19. Yes, it's either 19 or 20. I don't remember. What's Karen? Maybe you're right. Maybe definitely not 21. Okay, so it's either 19 or 20 because it depends whether I took one out whose data were a little strange. So that's the actual number. You would have to say there were 19 or 20 participants. Characteristics. Let's see, that I have to, I guess, give you. How many men do we have in the class? Okay, so let's go to participants. At the bottom, you have the yes and no button. If you are a guy, if you are a man, click the, no, let's do it the other way around. Women, you click the yes button and you guys click the no button. So you're not a woman. All right, go on. I can only see 4 people who voted. Quick, quick, quick. We don't have much time. All right. I don't see it. It's in participants at the bottom. There's a toolbar that says yes, no, go slower, go faster, more. Okay, Raphael, 19 is 19. So we have 6 to 5. Go on, we need to get to 19. Got it. Okay, good. People haven't voted yet. Quickly. If you're a woman, click on yes. If you're a man, click on no. So now we have 12, 8, okay, 13. 7 more people. Maybe they're not there. Amr, we need you to vote. Who hasn't? Bishoy, we need you to vote. Diamond, we need you to vote. Parker, we need you to vote. Raphael, you can vote. What's holding you up? Click on participants and underneath you will see the toolbar. So 14 next to chat. Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. I'm asking again, Parka, Raphael, people haven't voted. Julia, Diamond, Bishoy. Okay, so it says 9 and 9. Okay, perfect. Let's make it, 10 and 9. So 10 women, 9 men. How's that? That's fine. That's gender. Age. Well, I assume you all guys are around college age. So say college age students of College of Staten Island between 18 and 25, something like that. And ethnicity, of course, was diverse. You guys come from all kinds of different groups. So just say that. Which population was used for recruitment? The answer is the population of students of College of Staten Island. And what was your incentive for participation? Melissa as well. Okay. Your incentive was, it was a requirement for the class. Credit toward class. Good, Karen. Yes, that either of that will work. So your participants subsection will be kind of short, maybe 2 to 3 sentences. And of course, you all agreed to participate. You had a one tiny little consent form where you clicked yes. Great. Next one is design the materials. That's the most important one. Here you have to start with describing the task. What is it that you were required to do in your Finding 5 experiment? This is not Stroop's article. This is you. What did you have to do? What was the task? Who can unmute himself or herself and tell us what the task was? Click buttons. Physically, Brandon, you are correct. But conceptually, what did you have to do? Just
identify the words. And, well, you had to identify which button to use based on what you saw, the color, the congruent or incongruent.
Okay, you're getting there, but you have to say that the conceptually task required, which task for you to perform. So Brandon, this is a tricky question now. See if you can answer it. Okay. Was the task to read?
No.
Okay, so what was the task? You're correct.
Color.
To see the color.
Color, yes, Leroy, perfect. So this sentence is extremely important. You really have to write it well because that's where a lot of confusion with Stroop effect lies, when people continue to say, oh, the task was to read. No, no, and no, the task was not to read. But can you not read? That's a good question. Then you have to do the independent variable and its levels. We have already done that. Then you have to do the dependent variable. In fact, you could, if you want, you could focus only on reaction time data, but accuracy is actually nice. So if you want to include both, will be fine. The one that's required is reaction time. Then you have to say what the materials were. Well, these were not sentences, right? These were something else. And you have to describe them and tell us how many of them were at each level. There are 2 levels of the independent variable, and how many examples at each level. Your final sentence will be how data were analyzed. And that was that how to choose a statistical test flowchart. So finally, ultimately, which statistical test will you use? And here you will say the data were analyzed using the name of the test. So this is where people make lots and lots of mistakes. So having 2 heads rather than 1 will be very helpful. So I would suggest that you try to each write this paragraph individually and then make sure that you agree when you blend them together. Procedure is not particularly difficult. It's the physical steps of how the experiment was conducted. Don't mix it with the design. Right? It's not about the design. It's about, here, Brandon, you'd be right, pushing buttons and stuff like that. What was the software? What was the hardware? What were the steps? If somebody wanted to now go and replicate our study, what do they have to do? Well, they have to go to your procedure section and read it. Move on. I know we're going quickly because you have to spend some time trying to do that. Our results will also have 3 paragraphs and a figure, all packaged in that section. First paragraph is the repetition of the hypothesis and predictions. That's basically your last paragraph of the introduction. No big deal. But you can, if you understand what you're saying, you could also do statistical hypothesis statement. You can say the null hypothesis states this. The alternative hypothesis, if you want to. This is, again, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, just use the hypothesis and predictions from the introduction. The second paragraph is descriptive statistics. Now, remember your dependent variables. Both of them are continuous, which means you can do central tendency. And the only 2 things that we're interested in are the means and standard deviations, both calculated in Excel using the data file that I sent you. It's also posted on Blackboard. And here comes the figure. For this, unfortunately, I don't have time, so you can quickly use YouTube and find a clip on how to create an APA formatted figure from the means. You're using the means, not the raw data. Figures are always about means. Your final paragraph, nothing particularly scary, is the actual statistics that you will be doing that we have identified going through the flow chart. And it has to look the way APA statistics look like. And that, again, you can either find in the APA. Okay, I'm just gonna show you a very short, small font of how it looks like. You see all these symbols. Am I doing it correctly? Yes. All the symbols for the tests, p-values and stuff like that. But you only need, if you're only doing reaction time data, you only need 1 statement. That's all. And then you have to say what it means, because it's not for monkeys, it's for humans. Humans like language, not symbols. All right. Discussion. Again, there's a lot of repetition because your text is kind of short. Here you would try to say whether you have confirmed or disconfirmed the hypothesis from paragraph 3 of the introduction. The second paragraph, this is where Stroop comes in again. That's why you had the means and the introduction. You take that stuff from the introduction and compare it to ours. Stroop also measured reaction time data, except he used a stopwatch and you guys used the computer. So what's similar and what is different between Stroop and our data? And the final paragraph is your imagination, the limitations. Can you use the Stroop effect? Maybe some future directions. I don't know why I didn't finish that sentence. Right. And the final piece that I haven't done, I think I haven't, let me see. Yeah, is the references, which should be in the APA format. And that's very, very easy because you have the sample student paper available to you on the Blackboard. That's how references should look like with the explanations. Okay. So at this point, you need to go to your Google Docs and divide and conquer. One of you should start writing the paragraph 3 of the introduction, that is the hypothesis predictions. The other one should start writing design and materials of the method. And I will go through your documents. Hopefully I can give you some points. As soon as you're done, don't wait for anybody, move on to the results and write second paragraph descriptives, one of you. The second one should write inferential statistics, or do it. And if you don't have it, write a paragraph in the discussion. So it is all classwork. Yes, as much as you can do, Jeffrey, now. And if you have questions, raise your hand, or not raise your hand, actually say something, or text me in the chat, and I'll come to your group and I'll look. So at this point, I'm cutting you loose and I will go to Google Docs myself and see, who I have. Yes, Nick, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Could you just explain like the symbols again for the results? Like I just like what's DFP? Like I
Okay, DF is degrees of freedom, P is probability. So to understand that, what it means is you have to do the statistical analysis first, and you will have a table, and the table will have all these components in the table. So if you're going to use JASP and you run your statistical analysis, okay, and to know how to do it properly, have you taken 201, Nick, yet?
no.
And who's your partner?
Isaac.
Isaac, have you taken 201?
He has, yeah.
Okay, so Isaac should know how to do it, or it should be in his 201 textbook. Or you can just, again, Google it. See APA format for statistical tests, and you will have the symbol for the test. It's either T or F, depending on what you're doing, okay? Then
Okay.
you have degrees of freedom, which is a number, followed by the obtained t-value, which will come from the table in JASP, followed by p-value that also comes from JASP. So to do that part, you have to do the statistical analysis first, and you may not have time to do it now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Off you go, guys, to the Google Docs, and I'm going to join you in a second. I'm gonna mute everybody, and then you can unmute yourselves and talk
Hey,
to me.
Professor, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have to start writing the introduction right now?
Yes. Who's your partner, Noor?
Melissa?
Melissa, are you with us? Okay, let me see if I see Melissa. Give me a second. Oh, no, she texted me, Noor, that she had to take her pup to the vet who was violently sick in the beginning of the class. So, Noor, start with the third paragraph of the introduction.
Okay.
And when you finished with that, go to design and materials. Okay, so now for now you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see Jeffrey is telling me the same. Okay, Jeffrey, so the last paragraph of introduction, and then design and materials of the method. That may be as much as you can do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Rebecca had to take the dog. Okay, so I don't know why Melissa is not present, Noor. You would have to talk to her.